Okay, and we come back with video number 2 in how to repair your own tail light without chipping it and wasting a week waiting for your tail light. Number 2 will show you exactly where you need to open the light. As we said, we don't dismantle the tail light. What we have is a broken board inside, and we need to fix a broken board without destroying the light or disassembling. There is no repair kit. As we told you, those LED light don't go bad. Even some of the flooded lights still work. The signal light might not work, but the light itself, the brake light, would work because they're in a very basic circuit. So after opening about 8 tail light and destroying them, we found that there's 2 places that we need to open the light to fix it. And this is the passenger side. The reason we started with the passenger side is most of the tail light that goes out first is the passenger side, and then a week to a month later or 3 months, and as we've seen in some very rare car up to 1 year, the driver side will go out. But 99% of the cases we've seen was the driver side going later and passenger side going first. As we see in the first video, we remove this plastic piece so we can work around it. Now we're gonna go see where is this hump is. This is the passenger side. We're gonna come to the driver side later. We're gonna go where is this hump is. We're gonna go next to it. There's a little hump here. This little hump is basically the base where the board rests, and in front of it there's another base. This is a base for one side of the board, and this is a base for the other side of the board. So we're gonna go from the middle of this base all the way over here around this little tiny hump, and we're gonna go from this base all the way to the other side, nearly facing it. We're just gonna go in the middle here because there is one piece of the board is here, one piece of the board is here, but they shouldn't be connected. The one that should be connected is from this side to this side, and normally this is the piece that's most common broken in those lights. This is section number 1 of the light. There's another section we're gonna go to after. So we gonna come with a soldering, the wheeler soldering. We're gonna use this tiny tip, and we're gonna start opening little squares on the light. We're gonna go in the middle from this one very slowly. There's no pressure or anything. It's hot, it's plastic, and it's gonna melt. You just have to give it its time to melt. You don't need any pressure. So we'll open 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're just making a square here. Walk around it with a wheeler, make sure it's clean. Take the plastic piece, put it aside. We're gonna use it later. And now we can see the little board is actually, if you can enlarge this picture, you're gonna see where is the slide broken. Then we're gonna follow this piece of metal. Same thing, we're gonna put the wheeler, let it slide very slowly, no pressure from both sides. We're creating a path, and we create a little circle around the hump. The reason we create a little circle around the hump is we're going to need to remove all this piece, and we're going to need to remove the hump. Your hair picker, and then you're going to put the tiny little tip in the middle of the little hump that was here, and here it goes. We're gonna put it aside. We're gonna use it later. You'll see why. This is the first side of the light. Make sure all your plastic pieces are clean so They don't bother you when you're soldering. This is a piece that's actually broken. Now we're gonna go to the other side of the light. There is another little hump here. Right underneath this little hump there's a tiny little hump where the board rests. This side, tiny little board, tiny little hump here. The board rests on the other side, and this tiny little hump where the plastic is holding the board. What we did on the other side is we basically went in the middle of this hump and melted it, and once you melted it, it's not connected to the board anymore, so you can move it out. We're gonna go right in the middle here again. Hopefully you can see this. I try to make it as close to the camera as we can, and follow the line. On here, go about maybe 3/8 of the inch, or about 3 or 4 millimeter. Create another square here. Here it is. That's the other side of the board that get broken. And once they get broken, they're touching, the light is working. They're not touching, the light is not working. Anyway, we created another square here. We're gonna follow it the same way we did in the other side. And then we're gonna go make a little circle around where the hump used to be. We're gonna come here from the other side. You don't have to push it all the way down, you just need the upper section, this section from the tip, just to be down. You don't want to push it all the way down and damage the board or whatever left out of the board. Go back and forth till you feel it's really loose. Pick it up, take it out. This light is ready to get repaired. We're gonna go back to the first one. We're gonna switch the tip on this one, and we're gonna use the wider tip for soldering. This tip basically. Now, in order to fix the light, we're gonna need a piece of wire, and we said we're gonna use bell wire. This is the bell wire after we clean it. We're gonna go pick a piece from here to here, basically from here to here. This is all the piece we're gonna need. We're gonna bend it in two, close it up, this is basically your repair kit that they're selling on Scam Artists on whatever website you go to. And here it is. This is a piece of wire that's can cost you $700–800. So we're gonna put one piece in here, and you're going to line it up perfectly. You line it up perfectly on top of this piece, because this piece in many cases sometimes they break, and if the piece is completely broken from both sides, you're gonna need to remove it. If you don't remove it, it could short the light. So this is the piece we normally remove out of this light. This light is only have a tiny little crack, so you don't really need to remove the piece, because once you solder, it's gonna hold it in place. But if the piece is broken from both sides, you go ahead, pick it up, bend it, take it out. Very easy process. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. We're gonna take a piece of wire, probably a little bit longer than half an inch. We're gonna bend it in half. Can measure it, make sure it's gonna fit. If it's too long, you're gonna need to cut it shorter. If it's too short, you're gonna need to throw it away and start with another one. Here's the other piece. We're gonna do the same thing we did on the other side. This part is not broken, this part is good, but we are going to fix it so in the future you don't have to pull out the light and do the same thing again. We line it up. Now this light is ready to be fixed. As you can see here, we only open a small piece. You don't open the whole board. If you open the whole board or a bigger piece, then you got a chance of the board touching the other board with the solder on top of it. Or if the solder came on top of the LED light, which is located here and here and here and here, for any reason, if you put too much soldering and the soldering touch the LED light, you're gonna have 1 or 2 or 3 lights is not working completely, and that's basically gonna give you a bad day. Okay, now we're coming with a soldering wire. You can use the thin, the thick, whichever one you're comfortable with. You just need to apply a thin layer on top of the copper wire. What you're basically gonna do is you're gonna lay it down, give it a few seconds, make sure it's warm, of course. Don't touch it with your hand like I did, and just solder it. Gonna wait a few seconds, make sure it's covered in the copper and soldering really good. The wheeler is not a very strong solder, but it does the job. So now it's laying down on top of it. This side, we're gonna go the other side. We're gonna do the same thing. So now we fix this side. Now we're gonna cover this area with soldering material so it holds the piece in place, and it would be a lot stronger than just a piece of wire. Even the copper wire will not break, but we found with enough soldering material it will last forever. Now this light is fixed. Why are we fixing the other side again? Because we don't want to go back a couple of months later and try to fix it. So we're going to be doing the same thing here. Get the soldering wire. We're going to lay it on top. Make sure your hand is not shaking. If your hand is shaking, wait a while, an hour or so. Come back to it again. just a little bit of soldering, and you wait a few seconds. See, it's moving, it's covering the whole area. That means it's completely melted. Then you lift your hand, let it sit. Gonna go on the other side, do the same exact thing. Now the slide is fixed the same way. We're gonna add a little bit of soldering here. So this would be very strong. It's about 5 times stronger than what it used to be, because little thin piece of metal that break is normally about 0.5 millimeter, which is like half millimeter thickness. This is how thick the old piece is. And when you do the copper and the soldering, it's about 2.5 millimeter as far as we measure it. Now this slide is fixed. All we need to do is test it, and since we have a little plug here, we can test the light and see if it's working right or not. Here's our little plug. We're gonna plug the lights in, flip it over, and the light is working. And we test the brake light. And next thing we can do is we test the signal light. Even we didn't work in the signal light, but some of the light will have a bad signal LED light here, and so far we haven't been able to fix it really good. We can fix 2 out of 3, but the third will always be off. This light is complete and it's working. Now the next trick is, how do we seal the light to make it look good again if somebody looked at it, and at the same time so it won't leak. So we're gonna use a different tip, which is this flat tip, and this flat tip is the one that's gonna help us to seal the light. We can also use this kind of soldering irons you use to remember bumpers or plastics. You can find them on eBay. They're about $10. They're kind of really good if you need to solder a light. You don't really need to have it. We have it because we fix a lot of lights. But if you're only fixing 1 or 2 lights, you don't really need all these tools. So the next video we gonna change the tips and start fixing, or actually start sealing the light.